Hi guys, today we're going to talk about the number system. I'm going to review some notes that you can look over and look back at while you're doing your homework and before you do your homework. First off, absolute value. Remember that absolute value is the distance a number is from zero on a number line. On our example right here, what we have is -8 in these blue absolute value bars. Now -8, the absolute value of that is 8. It's 8 spaces from 0. Absolute values will always be positive. Okay? Now, let's look at some integer rules on the left-hand side. When you're adding it, if the signs are the same, you're going to add the numbers up and you're going to keep that sign, positive or negative. If the signs are different, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the difference between those two numbers, subtract, and then keep the sign of the larger number. Now, if I'm going to subtract integers, you're going to keep the first number the same. Change your negative or your subtraction sign to a positive, and then change the sign of the second number to the opposite. Okay? So keep, change. Or additive inverse. Remember additive inverse. Change the subtraction to an addition. Change the sign of the next number. Multiplication. When we're multiplying, you're going to multiply as usual. And then count the negatives. Okay? So if I'm multiplying, if I have a positive and I got a negative number, right? If I got a positive and negative number. If my signs are the same, it's going to be a positive number. If my signs are different, positive number and a negative number multiplied together will give you a negative. Another shortcut to this is if you have one negative number in the group, its sign will be a negative. If you had two negatives, it ended up being a positive. You had three negatives, it ended up being a negative because it'd go back and forth. When we're dividing, you're going to divide as usual and the same rules apply. A positive times a positive is a positive. A negative times a negative is a negative. The negative times a negative is a positive as well. If the signs are the same, it's a positive number. If the signs are different, it's going to be a negative number. Positive times a negative will be negative. For fractions, when you're adding, find the least common multiple, rewrite the fraction. Rewrite the fraction with common denominators. You can't add fractions if the denominators are different. They got to be the same. The numbers on the bottom, the denominator has to be the same. You'll add the top numbers, the numerators. Simplify it if you can. If you're subtracting, same rule applies. You got to have a least common multiple. Or you got to have a common denominator, so to speak. Rewrite that fraction using that least common multiple, right? Subtract the numbers or subtract the numerators and simplify. When we're multiplying, when you're multiplying fractions, you multiply the top numbers, multiply the bottom numbers, simplify. That easy. Remember your positive and negative integer rules. If I'm dividing a fraction, keep, change, flip. Say it with me again. Keep, change, flip. You're going to keep the first fraction the way it is. You're going to change division to a multiplication. You're going to flip the other fraction. Flip it upside down. And then multiply. Just like you should. Multiply straight across. Simplify if you can. Lastly, turn mixed numbers into improper fractions. You see here we got 1 3/4. We change it to an improper fraction, 7/4, by taking the 4 and multiplying it to 1. 4 times 1 is 4. Add the 3, that's 7. Put that over top of the original denominator. So 7/4. Okay? Take a minute and review, and then try out your homework there. If you got any questions, give us a holler.